Hello guys, Chris here and welcome to episode 43 of the Pocket Podcast. Today's guest is me. It is the first Q&A style solo episode of the Pocket Podcast and I feel like I owe it to you guys. I've been speaking to the guests, you guys have been getting to know me, but not very much. So today we're going to dive deeper into a lot of the questions that you've asked me. I did some question boxes on my Instagram. I have a couple of 100 questions in front of me right now, and I'm just going to sift through them, see which ones seem interesting, and answer some questions along the way. So we're going to dive into this. I'm going to crack open an Oxy Shred and get energized before we dive into the show. But let's get on to the very first question. Question number 1 from Ollie HG. This is a perfect one to start the podcast with. Do you have a PrePod ritual that you stick to so that you are in a good place spiritually before the show? I do, and the ritual is breath work, and I do breath work with all of my guests. And coming into the studio today to record a podcast with myself, I thought it was just as important to do a breath work. So I've just finished doing a breath work to get me grounded and ready for this conversation. We show up for everyone else, we leave a good impression for everyone else, but then when it comes to doing things for ourselves, we slack off. That is not something I want to subscribe to. So I'm making sure that the things that I do to please other people, to get other people in a good headspace, I do for myself to get me in a good headspace too. So doing the breath work is extremely profound and important before the podcast. I think it allows people to drop all of the nerves, forget about all the things that has happened in the past and throughout the day so they can go into the podcast conversation feeling fresh and alive with plenty of new ideas. So that is the ritual that I like to stick to. Next question is from J.Pupsy. How to get happy, how to find the own happiness. Well, I don't think you should be searching for your happiness. And I don't think your expectation should be to be happy because you can't be happy without sad. And so if we're expecting to be happy all the time and we're constantly chasing happiness, we can't find it without going through shit. And so I think the first thing is removing the expectation of being happy. But I think it's a combination of a few things. I think happiness is a mixture of peace, joy, and fulfillment. And I truly believe you can't really have all of them at once because, as an example, if what fulfills you is running a company and a business, and having staff and employees and, building an empire, a lot of the time when you're building that, you can't really be at peace. It's quite hectic, right? But if that's what fulfills you, then you need to do it. And so I think if we can strive for peace, joy, or fulfillment, I think we're on the right track. But removing all expectation of being happy and only having sunny days is probably the first step towards becoming more happy. And the second thing I would say is the way to become more happy is to go through more shit. And the reason I say that is because the more shit you go through, the easier the shit is to go through. So the less you are fazed by things, which ultimately results in you being more happy because you enjoy things more. You're not fazed, you're not disappointed by things all the time because you've been through a whole lot more that is way worse than what you're going through right now. The answer to become more happy, in my eyes, is to go through more shit. The obstacle is the way through. So go through more shit, you'll become more happy. Next question is from Keen_Cruden. Any advice for a young bloke in a toxic workplace environment? Well, my friend, if you are a young bloke and you're in a toxic workplace environment, why are you in there? You're young, so you have time. The likelihood of you probably having little dependencies because you are young is probably extremely high as well. So you kind of don't really have anything to lose. So you need to recognize that you are staying in that toxic workplace because of you and it is your fault. There's a level of ownership that needs to come in when you're doing something that you don't enjoy doing, especially if you're young. Because if you're young, it's not like you have all these kids to look after or you've got this big family that you need to keep a roof over their head. Like, it's probably just you. And so there is nothing holding you back and you really have nothing to lose. I think ultimately you are doing yourself a massive disservice by staying in something that you define as toxic and that you don't enjoy. just for the sake of it? Is it to please someone else? Is it to prove other people around you, to make your parents proud? Well, guess what? What's going to make your parents truly proud is when they see a massive smile on your face and you're actually enjoying what you're doing throughout your day and you have passion with what you're doing and you get excited and you light up with the things that you're working on and you can find a way that your work fulfills you. You can make good money doing so and you're not complaining about being in a toxic work environment. So I would say that is entirely on you and it's up to you to take the leap into something that's less toxic, because the more that drags on, the more it's going to ruin your mood and the more you're going to be less fulfilled, less happy, you're going to have less peace and less joy in your life. Next question. Bo Cornish, my friend. Wow. Bo Cornish, if you're listening to this, shout out to you, brother, because you went to school with me in high school and he left and went over to the UK actually to pursue his dreams in playing football or soccer. And I think he's still doing amazing things over there. But Bo, he said, what inspired you to start this journey? Hope you're well, brother, and hope to see you soon. Well, what inspired me to start this journey is a combination of things, but it's not like one big light bulb moment where I thought, wow, things need to change. It constantly progresses over time. You get your perspective broadened the smallest bit. Your eyes just get opened to something else that is possible. And you go, oh, that's interesting. So you lean in a little bit. And then through leaning in, what happens is you get open to even more opportunity. You go, holy shit, that is possible. And then it spirals and goes on and on and on into something that ends up to where we are today, having 500 million views, and my whole life is completely different. But where it all started is I switched all my focus and motivation from being this cool kid at school into business, and I actually lost all my friends. I went to a state school that doing something alternative from traditional education wasn't really supported, and everyone didn't really know what I was doing. And if anything, they were actually quite resentful for me trying to do something different. They were trying to tear me down. And I actually went from being this really cool kid that had so many friends to losing all of them. I was the captain of the footy team, but no one would answer my calls. And it was quite a lonely period of going, I'm focusing on business, but no one believes in me. I have no idea kind of what I'm doing, but this delusion and naivety that I had made me think that I was going to be a multi-millionaire at 20, which gave me this drive to keep going even though no one was believing in me. And it started with that. And then what happened was 12 months down the line, school had finished. I had moved to Sydney into lockdown with my best friend, and we started this software company. We raised this money at an $800,000 valuation and got all these investors on board. And publicly, it looked like this massive success. And all the people that doubted me literally came back congratulating me and asking for advice. And when I looked at all the people a year after school had finished, I think there was only one friend in my whole friend group that was still in their uni degree. Everyone else had dropped out or deferred. And here I am going, okay, this is so flawed. There are so many people that want to make a leap, but they think that it's not acceptable because everyone is judging them for trying to do something that they truly want to do. But then they see some success and then they want to know how you do it. And I was like, there's this flawed thing happening here. So I wanted to help people bridge the gap from school to the real world. And that's what created Primed University. Before I made my Instagram handle, more Chris Griffin, it was actually called Primed Uni. And it's crazy looking back at that because I was teaching fundamental education that helps people bridge that gap from school to the real world. And that really kick-started this journey of wanting to help people. And then what I found was the content just changed over time based on what I was going through. So I was going through business challenges, I would document that. I was going through new profound mindset shifts, I would document that. I go through a breakup, I would talk about lessons I'm learning in relationships. And one thing led to another. I kept refining things, but there was an emphasis on just being me and being authentically me. And that's why it keeps changing over time, because the more I grow, hopefully the content grows and I develop as a person and I can develop as a figure online too. So the inspiration all started back then and it's led to where it is today. Next question is from Samuel Menegal. did you have a mentor while you were doing your thing? Yes and no, because I think a lot of people have defined mentor wrong. And I get people coming to me all the time and they say, oh, I've got this opportunity to work with this mentor. And the mentor has some sort of incentive to, get for you to succeed in a certain thing, or, it's in an MLM or a multi-level marketing way where, it's a pyramid scheme and they've got this person above them that's teaching them all these things and they're mentoring them on the way. But I truly believe a mentor is someone that has the life that you want to live, or at least an aspect of their life you inspire to have, and this person is willing to help you. When I say willing to help you, I mean he's not really doing it just so he can get a kick out of it. He's actually genuinely invested into you, or he or she can be a guy or a girl, right? And to answer your question on if I had one of those, I did from time to time, but certainly didn't at the start, because as I said, a mentor is someone that has a life that you want to live and they need to know you and be willing to help you, right? And I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I was just slowly learning new things as time went on. Most of the time, you are doing it alone. It's a solo journey and you've got to be willing to troubleshoot yourself. An important thing about mentors is mentors are supposed to inspire you and give you the belief that it's possible, but they do not do the work for you. So they're supposed to be the one that opens your eyes, and then you're supposed to be the one that actually takes action and does it. They're not going to solve all your problems. They're there for inspiration, and that's precisely all for the most part, or at least you can't expect anything else beyond that. If they do give you more than that, awesome. And so I would say, in order to find mentors, you need to be put in the rooms, or you need to get yourself in the rooms of where these mentors hang out. And if you don't know where they hang out, how you need to go into rooms and start putting yourself in areas, and you might find people that you could define as a mentor. So many people just kind of are in their own way. They don't put themselves out there, and then they expect to be, introduced to some mentor. No, I think you need to, that's something that you need to find and put yourself out there and be exposed to people to find mentors. And another thing on mentors is mentors don't have to be these people that are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old and, they've already got all of this. A mentor can literally be the same age as you, but they're just a few steps ahead of you in whatever field that you're trying to succeed in. So remove the kind of stereotype of what a mentor looks like and actually strip it back to the life that they are living. And if they are living a life that you truly want to live, then by all means you can call them a mentor. But no, I mean, I've had mentors. I still have mentors. There's people I look up to. There's people that have the life I truly want to live. But I've never relied on mentors. And I think it's so important to understand that it's a solo game and you need to take ownership on what you're doing with your life. And I think the mentors are there to help give you that inspiration and belief that it's possible, even when you're in the trenches and the times are tough. Next question is from Nash Musa. Routines are hard, but is it the only way to reach goals? Well, we need to define where your goals are firstly. Routines aren't a necessity, but they most certainly help gain momentum. Because if you're doing the same thing time and time again, what the great thing about a routine is it removes a lot of decisions out of your life, and you don't get decision fatigue as much. Because when you've got routine, you don't need to think about all the things that you're doing because you know you're just doing that thing. So yeah, they certainly help, but they're not the thing that helps you reach your goals. Like if you have some 8-hour morning routine where you meditate, then you do some edging and grounding, and then you make sure you get in the ocean, and then you kind of pray for another hour, and all of a sudden you're journaling and doing all the rest of it, right? But you're not actually doing the thing, you're not going to achieve your goals. You might feel enlightened, cool, but you're not going to achieve your goals. And so the routine isn't the answer. But what I think is powerful about it is time management. So you can actually get things done in a specific time. If your routine is you've only got this amount of time to complete a particular task, hopefully you'll finish it in that time. Whereas if you don't have any routine, then you might take 4 times the time to do that thing. But then equally, it's going kind of like you're removing the amount of decisions that you make. Because if you know that you wake up at 5 a.m. every morning and that is what you do, you don't need to think about what time you're setting your alarm. If you know that you go downstairs and you drink a liter of water with a hydrate sachet from Switch, code Chris Griffin, then you know that you are doing that. You don't need to think about how you're getting hydrated throughout the day because that's what you're doing. It's part of your routine. If you know that you're by the beach and you want to go for a swim in the morning and then you roll into doing some journaling and then you're going straight into work, awesome. The less decisions, the better. What I'm finding is the more decisions I have to make, the more tired I become and probably the less productive I become as well. So reducing the amount of decisions that you make in your life is extremely profound. Next question is from Jack Crawshaw. Hey man, would love to hear about your attitude towards business, entrepreneurship, financial success when you were younger. If that's what you were passionate about from a young age, if that's what you knew you wanted to pursue, whether there were any signs, traits you realize now from when you were 15 to 19 years old, etc. I'm 18 now and it's the path I'm on. I'm super passionate about business, but I would love to hear about your journey so far because the childhood, teenhood of entrepreneurs or successful business people is often not spoken about very much. Cheers, legend. Huge fan of your Simon Beard episode, by the way. Cheers. Simon Beard episode, that was an early one. Shout out to you guys. If you've not listened to that, go and check that one out for yourself. Yeah, look, I was not very exposed to business when I was 15, 16. It was when I was 17 is when I first got exposed. And as I said earlier on in this podcast, I went from being this cool kid, captain of the footy team guy, to all in business. And that was in grade 12 at school when I was 17 years old. And I got exposed to my best friend, Sam. But the fact that you're 18 and you're on this path and you're passionate about business and that you like the Simon Beard episode out of all of them, you're already off to such a great start. My advice for you would be to use your age and your naivety as your advantage. People look at your age and naivety that you have when you're hungry as in business at 18 as a bad thing. But what I did, which gave me such a massive edge, was I used it to my advantage. I thought, okay, I'm young. If I get into the rooms with the right people and I meet these successful business people, they are going to look at me and see their younger self in me. And they're going to be like, fuck, I wish I started when I was 18. This guy's switched on. It doesn't really even matter what you're saying in those rooms. It's the fact that you are in the rooms. And a lot of the time you need to be naive to get in those rooms because a lot of these business rooms, right, all the people are just trying to sell you things and they've got these hidden agendas all the time. A lot of the time it's not authentic and they've got this bias behind why they're saying a lot of things on stage. I didn't have any money when I went to these seminars and these events when I was younger, but I went there like a sponge. I networked, I made business cards and I handed them out to them that just had my name and a face on it with my phone number and email. But I think people were really invested in me because of my age and because of my willingness to give it a crack. You know, I went to so many of those business events, Success Resources and Tony Robbins, and then you've got like Grant Cardone, Gary Vee. I went to all of these. There's photos of me with suits on when I was 17 years old going into these events. And I think it gave me a massive edge. I just soaked it all in. And the second thing I would say is, please do things for you, not everyone else. Realize that the path that you're on is not going to be heavily supported. As the years go on, it's becoming more and more supported, but it's not going to be heavily supported. So you need to be willing to keep going even when no one believes in you, because I'm going to tell you now, I hate to break it to you, but you're going to have a lot of periods of loneliness where no one can relate to you, no one is supporting you, you get slammed on your face, and it's your job to get right back up and act like nothing happened. You're going to build a lot of character in this journey. When I look at business and entrepreneurship, there's so many links to life. I think the character that you build in pursuit of building business is one that is extremely valuable. And the most valuable thing that we can obtain in life is character. And so understand that it's not easy. When I was 17, I thought I was going to be a multi-billion trillionaire at 20 years old. And I was doing these businesses, getting these investors on board. And I was like, fuck, business is easy. Like, fuck, how does everyone say this is a hard thing? Like, why is not everyone doing this? Me and Sam would literally be thinking that like this business journey was easy and we'd do these 5-year plans with a $20 million exit and all of this stuff. And then we'd sit back with our legs crossed in the studio apartment like, this is going to be a breeze. Boy, were we humbled. And so I'd just say, keep going, keep using that naivety to your advantage and keep going. I think ultimately it's a matter of playing the game at a high standard, so making sure that you're comparing yourself to people that are great, and then just keep playing the game longer. Do not quit, because when you make it, it will not matter how long it took. You will just be glad that you kept going. Next question is from Dev Rejjana. What is your opinion on long-distance relationships, and is it worth it? How long are you guys going to be in a long-distance relationship for? If you truly believe in the relationship and you love this person and you both love each other and you could see yourself spending the rest of your life together, and someone needs to go away for, say, 3 months, then by all means, I think you can make it work. If you're wanting to spend the next 80 years with this person, I think going away for 3 months is okay. But when you think about it, me and my ex broke up because she was moving overseas and going long distance, and I, in my mind, didn't think that that was going to work. But she broke up with me as well. There was probably other things as well. But the long distance wasn't even a consideration in my mind at the time. I think it's really tough. I'm big on physical touch and I love people being in my presence, and I just love having the company of it. And I don't think a FaceTime call suffices enough. So I think it's just having a really hard think about the long term and going like, and stripping away the emotion for a second and going, do I truly think this is going to be the mother or the father to my children, and I want to spend the rest of my life with this person? He is, or whoever is amazing. Then I think go for it and give it a crack. But also I think, if you think the values aren't aligned, or if you think it's going to be a long period of time in this long distance relationship, then I would definitely be thinking about if it's the right thing to do. I'm not really subscribing to a long distance approach just yet. I don't think it's the thing for me, but yeah. You're going to have to go off feeling with that. But that's my thoughts on long-distance relationships. Next question is from Reeks.11. Side hustle or full-time? Does that make a big difference? Yes, that makes a massive difference. And I think it's from an attention and energy standpoint. When it's a side hustle, you're focused on the main hustle so much that you don't have the energy to focus on the side hustle. But then again, you're going, okay, well, if the side hustle isn't making enough money to replace the main hustle, I can't do the side hustle full time because I need to be doing the main hustle, right? But the thing is I'd remind yourself of why you're starting the side hustle in the first place. It's either a passion project and you truly love it, or you're starting the side hustle with the hopes that it will become the main hustle in the future. Most of the time it's the latter. People want to start a side hustle with the hopes that it takes over the main hustle so that they can go all in on that other thing that they truly want to do. And if that's the case, you've just got to weigh up the risk, right? Because you're not going to be able to blow it up the way that you truly want to do if it's on the side. And I think it's from an energy standpoint. This is why I like to go all in on things, because if you have the confidence in yourself that whatever you're trying to do on the side could quite easily be your main thing, and you believe in yourself that you can make that work, going all in as soon as you possibly can is going to fast track that dramatically. When I was doing other stuff and the things that I was working on the side became my thing, what would happen was I would be working on the side project during the hours I'm supposed to be working on the main project. And I would feel guilty that I'm working on the side project instead of the main project. But because I felt guilty because I wasn't doing the main project, I wasn't giving the side project the full energy that it deserved because I felt guilty. So ultimately, by working on the side project while I had the main project, I did the main and the side at a subpar level because my energy was distracted. When you've got a side project, but your main thing is still supposed to be taking up most of your time, if the side project excites you, you're going to lean towards wanting to do that, but then you're going to feel guilty about not doing the main thing in the process of that, which results in nothing getting done at a high standard. I understand that people need to keep their main gigs and they need to be doing the main project to be able to keep a roof over their head for the most part, or support or provide for their family. But if you have the confidence, hopefully taking that leap and going on that side project will give you the drive, because you've taken the leap, to make that thing work. Because if your back's against the wall and you have no other options, you will find a way. And think about my story, for example. I've shared it a few times, but if you think about my story, in May last year, I was a heartbroken man. My girlfriend had just broken up with me. I had just quit my job. I was starting a software company that I was putting all my money into. I had a negative bank account. I only had a credit card, zero income coming in, and I quit my job. That was paying me six figures, and I was selling alcohol for Fisher, and I literally was working a few days a week, and I quit it. And the reason I quit it was for that exact thing. I felt drained, and I felt bad for working on my content and my business and stuff while I had this full-time job, that it was actually giving me more anxiety than not. I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. That's how shit it was. So I quit, and I went to Thailand for 8 days on a solo sabbatical by myself. And then from that, I came back, and my mentor at the time, again, Time Back Mentors, I was actually paying for this guy, and he set me a challenge to post a video every day of June. And my back was fully against the wall. I said, scrap that. I'm going to post 2 every single day. And then on the 8th day of June, one video blew up. And then on the 13th of June, another one blew up. And then every video started blowing up for the rest of the month after that 13th of June. And by the end of June, on Instagram and TikTok combined, I had over 100,000 followers, and my whole life changed. I went from 250 followers to 100,000 followers in a month because I went all in. If I still had my job, there is no way I could have got those results. I was posting 2 videos every day. I was writing, coming up with the ideas, filming them, editing them, posting them, responding to comments and DMs, and launching programs and newsletters and all of this stuff. If I was doing it on the side, there is no way I could have got that momentum. I could have got that growth. I'm not telling you to go and just quit everything that you're doing, but I'm saying I probably wouldn't be here if this content thing was still a side hustle. Next question is from Tara.j. How did you learn to speak so clearly and confidently? I got the reps in. I did it time and time again. There is videos online that you can find when I was not speaking the way I am right now. Let me tell you. When I was 17, I first got into business and I was trying to go to these rooms and these events. I sent a video of me, and I had wrote this whole script, and I was preparing and I was practicing this script, and then I had this suit on, and I probably did like 50 attempts of this thing, and I was like, hello everyone. And like, honestly, you will not recognize me back then. Completely different. You can train your speech, whether you're introverted, you're extroverted, no matter how you look. If you have a lisp, whatever it is, you can train your speech. It is a learned skill, because I truly was not very good at it, and I promise you that. So the answer is not the answer you want to hear. It's doing it time and time again. I've made thousands of videos now, and I've done so many podcasts, and I've learnt a lot. I've done sales training. I've had 3 different full-time or 4 different full-time sales jobs. I've started 3 different software and AI companies, and I've been selling and talking since I was 17 years old, which I'm 22, turning 23 in January. There you go for all you guys wanting to know my star signs or whatever you call it. 6th of January is my birthday. And I have been doing it basically full time, on work, off work, talking to people, learning how to communicate in sales and communications training, podcasts, filming videos. I've done thousands of videos, but some of those videos would take me 20, 30, 40 takes, right? I've been speaking a lot in front of in camera, in person, to give me the confidence to be able to speak the way I do today. So it's not an easy way. There's no easy way to clearly gain confidence in your speaking, unfortunately. But it's the most valuable skill you can obtain. And if it's the most valuable skill you can obtain, of course, it's not an easy thing to obtain, right? Things that are hard are typically worthwhile. Talking is one of those things. Being able to speak confidently has changed my life. I speak for a living now, and I have a damn good time doing it, and I'm extremely fulfilled in the process. So I would encourage anyone to learn communication and sales. A little plug for Ryan Tuckwood. Swish Sales Coaching is the main coaching that I ever did with communication and sales. Sales is just communication, the way you can articulate your message in a particular way. He's not paying me, but he is amazing. Swish Sales Coaching. Swish is an acronym for Selling with Integrity and Selling Honestly. Highly, highly recommend. Next question is from Cincy Re Bros. Best advice to starting a podcast myself. I'm nervous and a little worried it will fail. Look, the likelihood of it failing is extremely high. Understand that. The stat of, I'm going to butcher it, but most podcasts don't even make it past 3 episodes. Basically, no podcasters make it past 20 episodes. So if you make it past 20 episodes, you're in the top 0.1% of podcasters in the world, whatever the stat is. So statistically, most podcasts fail. If you're comparing yourself to the people that are doing a shit podcast, my advice for someone starting a podcast is twofold. It's to play a different game than most and play the game longer than most. So what I did when I started my podcast, for all of you guys to understand, I launched the Pocket in February this year, and it's blown up beyond, like, it's probably the fastest growing it is the fastest growing podcast in Australia, right? And the thing is about that is I played a different game than most. And what I mean by that is I compared myself to Diary of a CEO, Chris Williamson, all the best people in the world, because I looked at the character that is going to be listening to me. And it might be a mum driving to work, in her morning. Shout out to all the mums driving to work right now. It might be a mum driving to work in the morning, and they get to listen to absolutely anything they want for free. All podcasts are free, right? Why would they choose me? Why would they listen to some weird young surfer-looking dude that lives in Australia that has this Aussie accent, probably sick of listening to my voice? Why would they want to listen to me? And so I was like, I need to be playing at the level of the best people in the world in order to have people, to earn the respect for people to listen to me. I owe it to the listeners to have it at a high standard. So instead of comparing myself to some shitty podcast that's at the same level that I'm at, I'm going to compare myself to the best people in the world. That's the first thing you need to do. Because what's the point if you're not even going to do it at a standard that's worthwhile? First thing. Second thing is you need to play the game longer. As I said, most podcasters don't even make it past 3 episodes. If you're going to start a podcast, make a commitment to yourself, no one else, not an outcome commitment, an output commitment. Make a commitment to yourself that you're going to post at least 20 episodes, one every single week at a minimum, because most people won't. And you can control your output, but you cannot control the outcome. And in my lens, I went, if I'm applying the 2 things I just said, if my output is at the best in the world, the people that are the best in the world are on par with what I'm doing with my little podcast that's never released a single episode. And my output is phenomenal. It's greater than most, and it's playing it longer, right? It's not stopping. I'm consistently doing it for 20 episodes, minimum one a week. You're destined to succeed. If the quality of the output is at the greats and you keep doing that output, you will succeed. Do not do anything less and expect to get good results, because you're going to fit in the crowd with everyone else trying to start a podcast. And the third thing I would say is it's a lot harder than what you think. There is so many things that you can't plan for that fuck up. My best friend Sam's just launched a podcast. Go check it out. World Class Voices, Sam Hope. And fair play. He's hustled it. He's getting great guests. His podcast is going to be awesome. But I'm here, he's over at my house. I'm helping him edit this podcast because he didn't realize that when you're shooting at the high standard in 4K, you've got each one of these cameras is 150 gigabytes per file, and you've got to work with 3 of them, and then you've got to synchronize it and edit it all. But then what happens is, like, you press the synchronize button on the editing software and it doesn't synchronize properly, and so the cameras are out of sync with the audio, so you've got to figure out a way to fix that, and then you go to export and it says error occurred, and then you've got all these other things that pop up, and then when you try and upload it to Spotify after you've done all of that, you realize that, okay, you've pressed upload, but for some reason it's uploading a different file than the one you pressed, and there's this bug there, but then it's supposed to be releasing in an hour's time and I haven't organized anything yet and I don't really know how to fix it. Then you realize there's so much more to it. You've got to be willing to push past that. If you're holding a commitment to yourself to do 20 weeks in a row, do whatever it takes to get that out at that high standard, and do not quit, because the only person you are beating is yourself. You are literally going to disappoint yourself because no one else cares, because I'm going to tell you something. No one's going to believe that your podcast is going to be big, because everyone else wants to do a podcast too. Your neighbor's done a podcast. Your nan's dog has just launched his own podcast. No one is going to believe in you until you get some results. So be prepared to have no belief and no results for quite a long time, in the hopes that you will get some success in the long run. Next one is from Gemma.visuals. What business do you do? I get a lot of these questions. People are like, how do you make money, man? I need to know. And to be honest, the main way that I make money right now is through my sponsorships. I work with a number of brands now that I absolutely love, and I only work with brands that I truly love, because I think ultimately my goal for this whole thing is to become a trusted voice. I want to write books. I want to tour the world. I want to fill out shows and get bums on seats and people listening to me and sharing my message with the hopes to impact lives all around the world. To do that, I need to have a trusted voice. I need people to trust in the things that are leaving my mouth. So I don't want to put my name on brands that I don't love. So when I work with a brand, I am testing that product or what service or whatever it is for a long time prior to working with them. I'm testing a CMOS product at the moment, where I've dropped a lot of different supplements that I have been taking, and I'm just taking the CMOS. I've been taking it for over a month now. And I'm testing the results. I'm tracking it all on my Whoop, because I know it's a good product, and I know a lot of people have said amazing things about it, and I know it's profound and it's got so many testimonials and it's a very great brand. But I need to, in myself, know that I truly love the brand before I take any money from them. So I'm doing that process right now as an example. But the main way I make money is through the sponsorships. So when you hear ad reads on my show, understand that that's how I can afford things like high quality production, being able to invest into editors and team, and keeping a roof over my head so that I can make this my main thing, not my side hustle, so I can give it everything to make sure that the output for all of you guys is great. The brands are paying the bills and keeping a roof over my head, so I can keep focusing on this without worrying about how I'm going to have a roof over my head and eat food. That's how I make the most of my money. There's a lot of other exciting things in the works, like clothing and skincare brand and other little projects that I've been working on, which are really exciting. Communities to help people like you guys get really engaged. All these other things will help me, increase the amount of money that I can make. So then potentially I can even drop some sponsors so you guys don't have to have as many ads in the show as well. But yeah, at the moment, that's what I'm doing. I've done a lot of one-on-one coaching in the past. I do not do that anymore. And I've also sold programs and stuff, but I am playing a long game. And for me, I look at all the greats in the world, again, comparing myself to them. They don't sell programs. And so for me, it was a hard thing to do to take them out of my website because I was, selling a lot of them, but I decided to do that, resisting short-term pleasures in favor of something greater. I want to be a trusted voice, and I want people to trust in the things that are leaving my mouth. And that's the long game that I'm playing. And the next question is from Egan.Brooks. Balancing ambition with contentment, your strategy. Wow. Well, contentment's hard. I struggle to be content. And I think that's okay though, because I look at the ability not to be content has probably been a massive contributor that's helped me get to where I am today. A lot of things in life are double-edged swords. You are grateful for things, but then they're also stabbing you in the back a little bit. And not the ability to be extremely ambitious and not be content is a blessing and a curse. I sometimes look at people that live a lot more simple lives than I do, and they seem to be really content. And I envy that. I go, I kind of wish I could be more content. But then I also look at the fulfillment piece, right? And as I said earlier on in the podcast about a big part of happiness is being fulfilled. If I was content, that means that I don't really have a massive thing that I'm striving towards and I'm eager to achieve. If I don't have something that I'm eager to achieve, then I might be lacking fulfillment. And then that might result in an increased level of unhappiness. So it's a constant thing I'm trying to balance. What I will say is my ambitions and things that I'm striving towards do change the more I'm increasing in social status, the more that I'm making an impact on people's lives. I'm having this pivot from, like money and business and employees and team and all of this to more so impact-driven work. And that's an exciting thing because the feeling I get when I make an impact on someone's life is a greater feeling than anything else. It's a greater feeling than any money that I've ever made in my life. And I think, I think it's something that I do want to strive towards. And potentially, there will be a time, I don't know, when I'm not striving to be impacting so many more lives. I feel like hopefully I can leave this footprint that stands the test of time that can make an impact on its own, which will result in me being more content. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm still figuring it out. What I do try and do though is smell the roses from time to time and use reflection as a tool for appreciation, just to appreciate how far I've come. We can so easily get caught in this way of just next thing, wanting more, and we forget about how far we've come and all the amazing things we've done. Like I look at the last 12 months and I'm a completely different person. My whole life has completely changed. My whole purpose and outlook on life has pivoted, and I'm so grateful for all of that. But then when we strip it back to a micro level and I look at how I feel throughout the day, I might go, fuck, I'm not getting where I am. I'm not progressing enough, or I'm not doing enough stuff that, that is going to get me to where I want to get to. But then I look back and I go, hang on, mate. Like you a year ago could never have imagined how far you've gotten to. Like smell the roses a little bit. So yeah, it's a constant thing I'm trying to work towards, that's for sure. This balance of ambition and contentment, definitely something I haven't mastered yet. I've been thinking about this concept recently that has, really resonated with me, and it's a cost for being more unique. So it's a cost for doing things that you truly want to do for you. When you start making decisions for yourself, you start to become more unique. because you're doing less of what other people want to do and you're doing more of what you want to do, which ultimately makes you more unique. And when you become more unique, you struggle to relate to people as much. And when you struggle to relate to people as much, you can't connect with them. And when you lack connection, there's an increased level of loneliness in your life. And I think when you're lonely, you probably reflect more on your life and you are more self-reflective. And when you're more self-reflective, I think your inner critic comes in a bit more and you're more harsh on yourself. So something that I've been thinking about recently, the more I'm doing things for me, which has been this year's emphasis of not really caring what other people think and doing things for me, and by doing so I've been able to impact so many others, I've increasingly become more self-aware, and my inner demons, I guess you could say, and my self-talk hasn't always been positive because I'm thinking so much more. I think I just get in my head a lot. And then that comes back down to that wanting more and not being content with the things that you're doing in your life because you're so self-aware and you criticize yourself a lot. But then I also look at it and go, the more self-aware someone can be, the more self-aware someone can be, the more character they build, the more understanding of themselves they know. And I think it's a really powerful trait. I think when you can understand yourself more, you have more of an ability to be stoic and calm in the chaos. You can relate to people more. You can understand people more. You can read rooms a lot more. I think the more you understand about yourself, you understand more about where you want to go, where you don't want to go, how people feel. You have more empathy. So ultimately it's great. And I'm very grateful to be self-aware and to do things for me. But naturally, the other end of the sword, the double-ended sword, the bad part of the sword is that you have more probably inner demons and you critique yourself a bit more, which is a bit of a big cost, but it's a cost I'm willing to pay because the upside is far greater. And the final question of this Q&A is from Dan Flo. Wow, Dan and Joe, I hope you guys are going really well. I used to live with these twins, these Scottish twins, and it's so, so cool to see how much they're progressing. You know, when they moved in, they're a bit more shy and you know, in their shell a bit, and I just kept seeing them week on week become more confident. I think they've just released a podcast, or, you know, they're doing online community and travel. It's awesome. So cool to see. But what Dan Flo has said is how to attract like-minded people in person and online. One of my favorite quotes: if you spend all your time chasing butterflies, they're just going to fly away. But if you build a beautiful garden, then the butterflies will come to you. It's an inner game. A lot of the questions that we have in life are answered by working on yourself. The more you work on yourself, again, the more you become aware of yourself and you're self-aware and you look within and you give things a crack and you fail on your face and you have to get back up when no one's watching and no one believes in you. The more you do this, the more of an attractive character you become. The more of an attractive character you become, you're like this beautiful garden. The butterflies start to come in your life. You cannot expect to have these amazing people in your life when you are not amazing yourself. Amazing attracts amazing. Amazing people want to have amazing people in their life. So you need to level up yourself in order to become amazing. And then that's when you go through this lonely chapter, because you're progressed past your old group of friends, but you're not yet at the level of your new friends, and you're in this in-between phase, but that's a cost of doing business. So when you understand that, you have the ability to keep going even though it feels lonely, it feels uncertain, it's unknown, but level up you and the people around you will start to level up. As the tide rises, all the boats do too. That is all for this Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The very first solo episode on the Pocket Podcast. It's taken us nearly a year to do this, but I had a lot of fun. We didn't answer anywhere near as many questions as I was going to. There was hundreds in front of me, but I'm happy with this. I hope you guys really enjoyed that episode. If you did and you want to see more of these, drop a comment down below or screenshot this episode and share it on your story just to let me know that you guys actually enjoyed this Q&A style podcast solo episode, and I'll definitely do more of these if you do like them. Leave us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple as well, because it helps the show grow and it helps us keep getting amazing guests back on the show. The show is growing so much recently, and I'm so grateful for everyone tuning in. Like, if you've made it this far on a solo episode, thank you. I am so grateful for you guys, and all your support and love on the show and myself means the world to me. I'm going to keep doing my best to level up the show, level up the guests, and keep making it more valuable and entertaining for you guys. But I'm going to sign out for this Q&A, but I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye. You.